Welcome to the Life Unscripted Podcast with Rosabel, the place where genuine conversations meet inspiring stories, personal growth, and a dash of humor. I'm Rosabel, your host, inviting you to embrace life's unpredictable journey. Celebrate your unique story and find joy in everyday moments. Get comfortable, stay curious, and let's explore together. Unscripted, unapologetic, and unstoppable. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Life Unscripted Podcast, where we explore stories of resiliency, transformation, and the courage to live life in your own terms. I'm your host, Rosabel Zohfeld. Today, I am joined by a remarkable guest who embodies all of that and more. She's the founder of Social Bean, a thriving social media agency. But behind the business success, there is a story of profound personal loss and transformation. Her name is Olivia. Cheers. Olivia, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome. So, Olivia, let's begin. Like I always say at the beginning, can you take us back? I did a little bit of an introduction for you, but if you can introduce yourself to our listeners, and then perhaps we can go from there.
Awesome, absolutely. So I'm Olivia. I'm based out of Miami, Florida. I've been here for about 7 years now, and I actually own two businesses. Social Bean Agency, that's my main thing. That's my social media company. I do all things social media for small to medium-sized businesses all across the United States. And then I also own Long Distance Besties with two of my friends, and that's all about long distance and getting connected with your long distance friends, sell journals and merchandise, and have a Facebook group. And both of my businesses are a big part of me. I love being a business owner. I love having all the opportunities that come with it. And then outside of that, I'm very heavily involved in the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. That's another large part of my life. I'm the chair for our Out of the Darkness Walk, which is a big annual walk every AFSP chapter does. So this year is my first year being the chair, and I'm helping host it and put it all together and make this fabulous day that's coming in November. So that's those are the main things about me. And then outside of that, I'm a big reader and a big dog girl. I love dogs. I have a German Shepherd Lab who is my whole world. So that's me.
That's awesome. So, Olivia, let's take us back to the beginning and perhaps to a moment when you felt like you realized that something needed to change, like both personally and professionally.
So professionally, I owned my first business actually in 2020. I started a picnic company during COVID. I was doing luxury picnics for date nights and anniversaries and birthdays and all that jazz. If you've seen it, it was a big thing during COVID. And so I did that for 2 years and I loved it. It was such a great part of my life, but it ended up being a really challenging part as well. There was such a physical aspect that came with it. You know, I was doing picnics on Miami Beach and we had to park 5 blocks away, and then we're toting wagons full of rugs and pillows and tables and food. So I'd end up doing 3 trips back and forth from, the car to Miami Beach. I'm trugging a wagon through sand. It was very challenging. And then Miami-Dade started permitting. So they started charging more to host the events there. So the picnics ended up being that large physical work, plus these new permittings were making everything double the cost. So it just ended up being a challenge, and I was falling out of love with it. So it wasn't really, I'm all for a challenge, but only a challenge I love. So it ended up I wasn't enjoying it so much anymore. And halfway through, so a year into owning that business, I had multiple people approach me and ask me to run their social media accounts because they saw how well my picnic company was doing on socials. I'd never even considered doing socials. That was just not something on my radar at all. But I started running these accounts for friends, and I was like, this is right up my alley. This is my favorite part of my picnic job, is the marketing aspect. I loved all the PR and the social media and just marketing as a whole. I really enjoyed it. And I thought, you know what? I just really need to make that transition. I would love to do social media full time. I think I'm good at it. I know it well. I've, practiced on a few accounts. So I started working for an agency, and this was 2022. I started social media in 2021. 2022, I started working for the agency. And then 2023, I opened my business officially. And that was a really big professional transition. It was hard and I wasn't sure about it. It was one of those things that, I spent so much time thinking, is this the right choice for me? Should I stick with my picnics? Should I go into social media? Should I do something completely different? It was, I probably spent 6 months just ruminating on what do I do? What do I do? And when I finally made that jump into social media, I immediately realized this was the best transition I could have made. Um, and now I'm here a few years later, and I have no regrets about it. That was really a great choice that I made for myself. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And Olivia, you share, perhaps not here, but previously to me, that you lost one of your closest friends to suicide. And that is a profound loss. How did that experience reshape your life? Like, what led you to get involved with, like you said, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention?
That was probably the moment in my life I changed the most, I guess. I learned the most about myself in that time. So that was 2017 that I lost my friend. From 2017 to 2020, I'm very much the type of person to hold all my problems in. I don't like like burdening people with my problems is, not really, but that's how it felt to me at the time. So for 3 years, I didn't speak to anybody about my loss. The people that knew, but outside of my close circle, nobody really knew. I didn't share that as a part of my story. And it ended up during those 3 years where I wasn't talking about it, it would boil over a lot harder when it did. It wasn't every single day, but once a month it would boil over really hard to the point that, I would be struggling that whole day. And I thought come 2020, I was like, I need to do something about this. I need to make a change. I need to, start talking about it. And I think, the friend that I lost would be encouraging me to get out and talk about it and do something about it and make a change and not just be the person, sitting there moping about it, which is totally okay. But I wanted to do more with the pain, and just sitting on it just wasn't helping me. So 2021, I joined AFSP as a walk member. So just my boyfriend and I showed up to the walk. We spent an hour or two there, and I just remember hearing all these people sharing their stories about their own loss, and I had never been around so many people who had this similar experience as me, and I was so just, I don't know the right word. I was just, I guess, like intrigued. Like I wanted to know more. I wanted to talk to these people. I wanted to be a part of this. So as soon as that event ended, after I just walked the walk, as soon as it ended, I emailed the team and I was like, please let me on your team. I want to volunteer. I will do anything. Just let me get involved. So 2022, I started volunteering, and since then I've kind of grown into my volunteer roles. At first, I was just helping a little bit with the walk. Last year, I hosted a big kickoff event where we rented out a venue and I hosted the whole thing. It was like the coolest experience ever. I got to talk to people about my experience with mental health, about how to take care of yourself and the resources that AFSP has and how to check on your loved ones. And I got to really, it was just something so much bigger. This specific event I hosted, it was just so much bigger than I could have ever imagined. And I really felt a tangible effect on people. I felt like I was really helping people. And then come this year, and I actually got the invite to be the chair for the walk. And that is like the most exciting thing ever. I was so excited about that. But I really didn't, like I said, those first 3 years, I just didn't talk about it. So then come 2021, when I started talking about it and getting involved, it became so much easier for me to accept, and the guilt slowly went away, and the really hard feelings went away, and those days where I boiled over went away. And that's not to say I don't have hard days. I absolutely still have hard days where it hits me a little harder, but I think I know how to manage it better than ever, and being surrounded with this environment of people that get me is, I wouldn't change that for anything.
How old was your friend, if you don't mind me asking?
So we were both 17.
Wow. It's a very young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very heartbreaking loss of somebody that was way too young, and it was a friend that I was really close with. We ran track together, we had classes together, we were getting lunch together every single day, and I think it's always heartbreaking when somebody young loses their life. It's a tragedy.
Yes. And then suicide by itself also. I was 17 when I lost my mother. My mother was to suicide. My mother was 54. And so still, you have all the life ahead, however many years you're supposed to live, right? And so yeah, it's really hard to wrap your hair around. And then sometimes there is some sort of a guilt. What if I would have done this? What if I would have called? What if I would have done, unfortunately. But yeah. And then the other thing I was going to mention to you is entrepreneurship, if I said it right, or starting a business or doing something on your own. It can feel isolating because you're so busy, you're doing your thing. And I wonder, how did you find, or if you have found people that perhaps through the support, people that are able to support what you do. I mean, how's that? How's your experience on that?
That is definitely very true. I work from home, and owning both of my businesses, it is very isolating. And that's something I really do talk about quite often, because I think everybody looks at work from home as this amazing work from home specifically. It's like it's such a luxury, and that's you're so lucky to work from home. It's so amazing, but I think people forget that, I'm alone all day. I'm talking to my dog, and I'm talking to myself sometimes more than I'm talking to another human, and that is really isolating. So I definitely have made it a priority in my own life to get out there in any way, whether it's AFSP or networking groups. Or one thing I do that I really like is I have a co-working group that I join. So about once a month, once every other month, there's this group of people in the same exact situation I am that meet at a local co-working spot, and we all come together and we just work together. We're working, but there's also a lot of communication and hanging out and getting to know people. And I've met some awesome people who are in the same exact, wheelhouse as I am, of owning their own business and working from home. And so I'm all about getting out there. And I'm somebody that, I have a lot of anxiety. I get really built up over, like, even the co-working group. Sometimes on my way there, I'm like, this is terrifying. I'm so scared. What if nobody talks to me? But 10 out of 10 times it has been so worth it. And I never have regretted going to the AFSP events, going to the co-working events, going to networking groups. I've never once been like, I totally regret that. So I'm really all about just trying to get out there.
Absolutely. We had to do that. I remember when I worked for an entire year from home during the pandemic. And that was rough. There was a time when I was like, I'm ready to get out of here because your mind doesn't, it's like you're not able to separate your work life from your home life. And so it can be a little difficult. So I remember that. Your social media business, I want to know, what is your philosophy when it comes to, again, the social media and building real connections with an audience?
So I'm really all about working with, I guess I would say, like, heart-led businesses and brands. I've always with my life wanted to make a difference. And I know working in social media, it seems like, what difference could you make working in social media? But that's why I really like working with, like, I do AFSP's social media, for example. I've worked with an eating disorder outpatient program, a therapist, a legal nurse consultant. I've kind of been across the board of different mental health and health related things, or just heart led, even. It's not always health related. Sometimes it's just businesses looking to make a difference. And I'm really all about just trying to help these businesses get their name out there, get their message out there, because they deserve to be heard. And it's hard when you're on social media and you're in this sea of millions and millions of pages. How do you get seen? That's why we build strategies. That's why we make our content very strategized at whatever target audience it is. But at the end of the day, my mission is just really to get these people's brands and businesses in front of the right faces, because they deserve that. And I'm really all about using social media as a community connection platform. I can say for my long distance besties brand, we're building this community of friends across the globe, and people have even commented, about how they've lost friends, and they're finding comfort and commenting or DMing us about these experiences. And, you get into this back and forth conversation with them, and you're building a community. And so that's what I'm all about. Even I have a company that's a DJ. I work for a DJ, and, that's not necessarily like a heart-led company, but we're building a community of people that love music, of people that love weddings. And so I'm just all about using these platforms the way that I think they were originally intended to be used for community and connection.
Absolutely. It's community. That's a big word that I hear. And then also between grief, growth, and all the ups and downs of business ownership, what have you learned about resiliency? I'm sure a lot.
Well, definitely. Oh my gosh, so much, especially transitioning my picnic business into my social media business. That was a big learning curve for me entirely. And I had people that were questioning my choices, and I questioned my choices. And then I wasn't sure if it was the right path, but I just kept trucking on, I guess. And that's how, every situation, I just feel like I'm the type of person just bulldoze my way through it. And that's not to say I don't have bad days, I don't get hurt by things, but I just bulldoze my way right through it. I keep on trucking, and that's what I did for my business transitions. That's what I've done when I've lost clients. I just keep on trucking, and I'm all about, I guess, like positive manifesting. And I think that anything you want to do, you can make possible. And so, like, for example, when I lose a client, I do not let that stop me. I just get really honed into finding a new client. And then suddenly I'll have 3 more the next week because I just believe in myself and I don't let things get me down. I just keep trucking through. And I think that's such a huge part of entrepreneurship. You just have to keep trucking if you want a successful business. You just you got to keep going. And so that's why, what, I feel like I wake up every day and I'm just like, just keep going. Like, you've got this, you've got it all figured out. You just need to believe in yourself. So that's really, I'd say that's what I've
That
learned.
is exactly right. We have to be our biggest advocates, our biggest cheerleaders out there, because that is true. Nobody's gonna stop and be like, go, go. I mean, you may get here and there, but we live with ourselves, 24/7. So we need to be our best friends. I was just thinking about that, and when when we find a best friend in ourselves, we pretty much got it all, because that's all we need. We need that guidance, we even when we're not feeling well, when we're feeling down. So absolutely. And another thing I wanted to say, because you said quite so many interesting things. For someone who's listening right now and they're like going through a hardship or going through a very different season or moment, what would you say right now to
To
them?
someone going through a hard time. You know
Yes.
what? I would say, as corny or as cheesy as it sounds, there is better times ahead. And I'm such a sole believer in your hard day is not a hard life, and your hard week is not a hard life. Your hard month is not a hard life. And it's okay if you're having a hard month or a hard year. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel the feelings, but at some point, really know and understand that things will get better. Every hardship that I have faced, every hardship that, my significant other, my friends have faced, I've watched them power through it. And it might have been 6 months where they were really down and really hurting, but they got through it. And I think, especially being such an advocate for suicide, that's really an important message, that this, you might be so down right now and things might just look so bleak for the rest of your life, but I promise things are going to get better, even if you in no way can see that right now. And you know what? Sometimes it's just about trying to find joy in the little things, I'd say too. I feel like I have hard days all the time, but I just try to find my dog was good today. She didn't bark at all, and that made me happy. I got a hello text from somebody I haven't talked to in a while, and it's so small, but that made me happy. And I try to lean into those moments. So that's what I would say. Just, it's okay to feel the feelings. It's okay to be sad. Let yourself be sad, please. It's so okay. But just know that things will get better.
Absolutely. It's just reminded me today. I didn't know if I honestly asked this question for the audience or for myself. subconsciously, I was having, one of those days, things happen unexpectedly at work and whatnot. And as I was driving back, home, I was like, all on it, and like thinking about what about this, what about that, and then suddenly had to come to a stop because there was, a stoplight, and then I looked, and there was the most beautiful, the sky and I just got wrapped into it, and I was like, wow. For a moment, I felt like I was in complete mindfulness, started looking at the beauty of it, the simple things. And the fact that it was storming earlier, it was like storming, like, I could hear it. We have sirens, we have all kinds of things going on. And to believe that a few hours later, actually, I went outside and it was sunny and shiny and beautiful. And it just gave me that. And so I was just thankful. I just really thankful. And just by me doing that and kind of observing, just observing the sky, and it just gave me so much peace and so much calmness. And whatever I was thinking about what happened, it just kind of dissipated, and then that helped me to like, okay, now I can move on kind of thing. So yeah, stuff
It
like
really is
that.
the little things, like that, the sky or a good meal that you had or a small little
Yes.
surprise. Really just finding the joy in the littlest of things can sometimes be all you need to push you through.
Or breathing. Just remember, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm here. It's just like, again, that whole presence, the moment, feeling the moment. That's exactly what I will say. Olivia, is there anything I have not asked you that perhaps, you would like to share with us?
I'm not sure. Not necessarily, no. I definitely would just say I encourage everybody to get involved with and I'll say an organization that means something to you. So AFSP, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, that's where my heart led me to, but I'm all about volunteer work and philanthropy, and I think it's all, that's really about helping other people, but at the end of the day, I think you'll be surprised by how much it can help you too. And maybe your organization is the Alzheimer's Association or National Association of Mental Health, whatever it is. I definitely
Yes.
recommend people get involved with things like that.
Absolutely. And a lot of times by us helping other people, like you say, we don't know how much is actually helping us. We don't do it with that, but we get that in return, because what we put in life gives us back, and sometimes even double. Olivia, how can people, our listeners, connect with you? How they can find you?
So I'm on Instagram and it's socialbean.agency. Bean is BEAN. And then my email is socialbeanagency1@gmail.com. Either one of those is great. Instagram has all the links you could need to learn more about me. And then I post a ton about myself. I also post a little bit about mental health on my social media page. So that's where you can find me.
You have a website, right? Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
socialbeanagency.com.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was just thinking about your email. Okay. Yeah. So Olivia, thank you so much for showing up with so much truth, vulnerability. It's not always easy to talk about those things that actually, are very dear to us. I feel like your story is it's a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments, there is actually room to build something meaningful. And for everyone out there listening, if you're navigating loss, perhaps life transitions, or you're feeling uncertain about anything, or you're starting over, so many things, I will encourage you to let Olivia's journey to remind you that you're not alone, that there's beauty that can actually rise from brokenness. And so I would like for you to connect with Olivia as well. So let me see if I remember. Go to your website, which is www.socialbeanagency.com. How about that? And then,
Yep.
of course, Instagram. And awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you so, so very much for, allowing us to share a little bit of experiences. And don't forget, everybody, grab my book if you get a chance. Subscribe to the channel so you can listen to more inspiring stories. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Thank you so much. This was a great time.
Thank you. I want to invite you, yes, you listening right now, to check out my book, The Courage to Succeed: A True American Dream. It is available now on Amazon and also Barnes & Noble. This is a story of resilience, grit, and what it really means to chase your dreams, even when the odds are stacked against you. If you ever face fear, failure, or uncertainty, this book will meet you right there and remind you that courage always has a voice. To search The Courage to Succeed, A True American Dream by Rosabel Zohfeld on Amazon, or head to the link in the show notes, because your dream is worth it and your courage can take you there.